Yeah, you should not take one off the table. Would you put it on the table? Yeah. No. Are you calling me a fatty? What did you hear that? No. Why is Max with spotlight?
I didn't do that. I didn't change it.
It's my something else.
Oh, well, maybe because no one else there, but you can't.
But it should like I spotlighted this camera. It should.
Well, I'm just saying, like, there will never, ours will never be the spotlight. You got to account for it. Is it one of these?
Because when I record it, I screen it.
Oh, you can record your screen.
Yeah, that's the big
Wow.
But like it doesn't show up on mine. Like here.
Oh, the video doesn't show up on yours.
No, so weird.
That's your problem because the video shows up on mine.
You know it's weird. Yeah, I'm just gonna record it. If you're streaming, show this. Well, if you would like to.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Silence, please. Let's see. This is it.
Very cool.
The others have not yet joined, so weird.
Well, if they're not joined, Martin's absent. Top of the chair.
Then I guess they have a minute.
After we get started.
Oh, let me know when.
Okay. Let's go now. No.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 7th meeting of Guild Council and meeting. I'm going to open the meeting at 5:30 p.m. The Curtin Student Guild pays our respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members of our community by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which the Bentley campus is located, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and on our Kalgoorlie campus, the Wangutha people of the northeastern goldfields. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this university, city, and this region. Members present, we have President Listora, Nor, Ben, Bridget, Razan, Max, Callum, Bridget, myself, Ebony, sorry, not Callum, Coben, and Hadia. We have an apology from Mitch, and absent, we have Hamida and Emily. Okay, item number 3, disclosure of any potential or perceived conflict of interest. Are there any disclosures of potential or perceived conflicts of interest? No? Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting and circular resolutions. So we've got a motion here that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 24th of July 2025 as a true and accurate record of proceedings at that meeting. Moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Max. Thank you. Okay. All those in favour, I suppose. Yeah. All right. That motion's carried. Okay, moving on to reports. 5.1, the President report. Dylan, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
Oh, I sure would. First of all, I just want to say congratulations, David, on being elected chair of this fine body. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone here when I say that I'm sure this is something that you've been incredibly driven to do, and I know that it's not something that you did out of a sense of obligation after witnessing how Mitch chaired last month. But thank you very much for being here. It's been another massive month for the Guild, and I want to start by saying that I truly believe that the Guild is stronger now than it has been in years. Every day we're proving what a student union at its best can do. On the cost of living, $5 student saver meals are rolling out every weekday at Guild Cafe Central. They're fresh, filling and affordable, and they've already become one of the most popular initiatives we've run, and that, well, I'm sure will result in thousands and thousands of $5 meals and student saver meals put out across this campus into the future. Alongside that, the Guild Student Pantry is now open, which is giving students free confidential access to essentials at a time when many are doing it tough. Together, these two initiatives show exactly why a strong Guild matters, because when students need relief, we deliver it. On the advocacy front, this week we secured a major win for psychology students. Curtin tried to change their exam formats halfway through the semester, and we mobilised. Over 1,200 students and supporters signed our open letter in just a few days, and I delivered it alongside a formal letter making it clear that Curtin had broken its own policy. That pressure worked. Curtin reversed its decision, and that is the power of students standing together. Housing has also been front and centre. After our campaigning, the West Australian ran a major story exposing just how unsafe and unfit much of the on-campus accommodation is. Since then, more students have come forward with their own stories. We're stepping up our campaign for proper fencing, lighting and air conditioning, because we believe no student should have to live in unsafe or unhealthy housing. On practical campus issues, I'm happy to report to Council that the Guild secured overflow parking to help ease pressure on students trying to get to class. It doesn't help everything, but it is a meaningful step in the right direction. Next week, the Guild will be holding a special general meeting on Palestine and Australian universities' ties to weapons companies. This follows decades of Guild activism and our track record on winning real commitments from our university, and I encourage every councillor and student to be there and to put your support on the record. This Sunday is also the nationwide March for Palestine. I'll be there, our team will be there, and I encourage all of you to join us. On the WA University review, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now, as we'll be discussing that later tonight, but I do want to encourage everyone to contribute to that discussion. The stakes are high, and Curtin students deserve to be heard and deserve to have a guild that's going to back them in these conversations. So pretty much from $5 meals, the pantry, housing advocacy, exam wins, parking relief, principled activism, our guild's delivering. We're not just surviving, we're thriving, and we are fighting harder than ever for students. I'm so incredibly proud to lead this guild and to see the work that we're doing, and I'm even more encouraged to keep getting it done in the months ahead.
Thank you, Dylan. I will note that Hamida and Emily have joined the meeting at 5:36 p.m. Does anyone have any questions on Dylan's report? I'll go to Ebony first.
This is more of a comment regarding the housing. I think that this was getting the article in the West Australian was a really good move. I will say for the following week that the article was released, there was a security guard at Vickery House, which was great. I was a bit disappointed when the security guard left. However, I still think that they're moving forward with starting to put some things in place. I had an email this morning saying that there was going to be a meeting with all residents and the police going through just some general sort of keeping yourself safe type stuff. So I think it has really made a difference, and I hope we see more soon. So thank you for your advocacy.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds great. Adair?
Just regarding the overflow parking, I just wanted to ask when it opens and closes, only because I have driven there like quite early in the morning. It hasn't been open, but I'm not really sure when it opens and closes. And I was wondering if we're able to put signs for where to enter, because I've heard from a couple of people that it can be quite confusing.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not, I mean, we don't run it. I mean, I'd be very happy for the guild to take on running the parking on campus, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I do think it opens like at overflow time. So I think it like opens from like 10 o'clock in the morning to, I think it's 5 or 6 in the afternoon. Then you've got to call safer communities to get in. It's far from perfect. I think like we certainly think that there should be more permanent parking on campus. When I'm driving in from this way, there's a sign saying from the car parks, you're driving in, I don't even know what's this road, Kent Street. Is that Kent Street? What? No, not Manning Road. That, you know, that one that runs up that way. Perfect for people listening online. There's a sign from that direction, but I don't think coming in from this direction, driving in from the exchange, I don't think the signage is very good. We can send that suggestion through to them. Yeah.
That's great. Is there any more questions for Dylan about his report? No? Okay, we'll go to the Vice President of Education's report. The report was submitted, Ben. Let us comment on the report.
Yeah, I'll just touch on some of the things I spoke about in here. The main one being the push for universal submission time. During a last minute consultation with the ASPM, we were told like 3 to 4 big issues to push on. This was one of the issues that we chose, was universal submission time. The academic register essentially said at academic board that they're not against this, but getting this change would come with hurdles, challenges, and further consultation. Dylan and I used our opportunity to speak to the Deans of Learning and Teachings monthly, raised it as an issue and what we'll be pushing for. Through this discussion, there was an effort to lay out what it would actually look like, and by the end of the meeting, there was support coming from the room. And during O-Day as well, I dedicated my stall to receiving feedback for this, which I've included in this report. Where it said through over 250 students, over 80% said it would reduce stress, nearly half admitted they'd missed a deadline due to confusion, and 70% said it would just reduce anxiety from accidentally being late. This data involved from all faculties and all years of learning and postgraduates. And we know that Curtin can back down now when there's enough pressure from students. If you just take a look at the psychology exams, Dylan spoke up against these changes in the academic board and was met with a strong pushback from the academic register that didn't really want to hear what Dylan had to say and his point of view. The petition went up at about 5 p.m. and if I remember about 11 p.m. there was already over 300 signatures, and throughout the weekend there was over 1,200. And on Monday, I believe, was it Monday or Tuesday? It was reverted, I believe. It was Tuesday. And I'm glad these have been revoked because they were unfair and just unjust. If they want to implement changes, they need to do it pre-publication of the unit outlines. This is just unfair. It requires a majority of students. There was a majority of students disagreeing with this, and I believe that using this as an example to further push on our universal submission time, we can see that as the next big win for students.
Right, Ben, thank you. Has anyone got any questions for Ben? Yeah, Bridget, go for it.
As a psych student, for the update of the putting back to normal take-home exams, I'm for one very happy that I have the exams back to normal. Out of pure curiosity, is it all psych units? Because for some of my stats units, it hasn't been communicated that it's back to normal.
This should be for all psych units. I will note that also they cited that one of the reasons why was accreditation, which is not true. All the fourth year units did not change and they continued to be 24-hour take home. It was only for the first to third year students. Thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions for Ben? Okay, cool. I will move on to the Vice President of Activities. Bridget, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak on it?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much. So the start of the semester has been incredibly busy with O Week, O Day, Start Semester Bash, and Sustainability Week, and Love and Consent Week next week. O Week and O Day, despite some pretty bad weather, O Day was still a very strong success with between 5,000 to 6,000 people coming around, which is, while slightly less than past years, it still was a very vibrant atmosphere. Was still very crowded, as I'm sure some people would felt, especially with everything being undercover, which just in a way made it worse, but whatever. It is what it is, and we were still very lucky to not have any rain for those specific times that we had O-Day. With House Party Winter Warm-Up, it was a massive success. To be honest, within all honesty, I was a little bit scared about it, but I have never been more happy to eat my own words with this, with around 1,500 attendees the whole time. The TAV was at capacity for most of the night, capped at 500, with themed drinks and food, including s'mores, which I was very happy to try for the first time. Even though I'm sure many Americans would say that they aren't proper s'mores, but neither this nor that. However, the event also brought light to some challenges. There were some report with obviously the larger amount of people came with a larger amount of complaints about people being with antisocial behaviour, inappropriate touching, harassment, which is unacceptable. And in response, the events team are creating measures such as having bar staff being briefed on how to deal with this sort of stuff, and having enhanced security, and also events people being like designated people to help like move people on, and along with stronger consent education on our social medias that you will be able to see next week. Sustainability Week, last week, it was a pretty strong success with the recycling hub being launched. I'm sure Razan can speak more to that. And with the thrift shop and the clothes vending. Additionally, continuing developing the sustainability grant to help clubs covering costs for environmentally friendly products, and the events team continuing on their work on the sustainability checklist, which will be a checklist for us to the guild to use to make sure that events are as environmentally conscious as possible, and then hopefully this will extend into being better for clubs. And I am happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Bridget. Has anybody got any questions, Bridget, about her report? No? Yes, Ben?
When do you think the timeline will look like for the sustainability grant for clubs?
Hopefully by the end of the year, clubs will be able to look into, like draw from that. Nora and I are working on it as we speak. Additionally, we are also going to have working on having a sustainability award for club awards that people will be able to win.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I would just like to note that Ebony left the meeting at 5:40 p.m. and came back at 5:42 along with Callum Baxter. I would also like to state before that we have Vernon present and also others present. We have Julie and Suhaila. Okay. Vice President of Sustainability and Welfare Report, Razan. Report submitted. Would you like to comment?
I will comment on it. There's always big things happening at the Curtin Student Guild, and I'll run through some of these updates. So last week, Curtin students would have received an email to their inboxes from the Australian Human Rights Commission. These last months representing the Curtin Student Guild and Curtin Ethnocultural Collective. I've been working with UWA's Ethnocultural Department, the NUSWA Branch Vice President Rama, the UWA MSA, the UTS Ethnocultural Department, UTS's Palestinian Youth Society, the Curtin Palestinian Society, and UWA's Palestinian Cultural Society. We've been working with the Commission to make sure this survey serves our and students' best interest. For transparency, there were some issues we raised which the Commission has committed to. And these include the lack of the use of the word anti-Palestinian racism, which has since been resolved, and concern that this report could be used to endorse problematic and weaponized definitions that are ultimately an attack on freedom of speech, such as the IHRA definition and the Universities Australia definition. The Commission has promised that the survey respondent names and IDs will be hidden from universities. However, if students would like an extra layer of confidentiality and anonymity, just for peace of mind, you're welcome to contact me and I'll be happy to submit it on your behalf. Racism is absolutely unacceptable. However, in order for the Commission to make recommendations that accurately reflect campus issues, I do strongly encourage students to engage with the survey. I know it's a little bit long, but please do if you can. And very soon we'll also have a form available in case someone prefers not to submit through the email link. And then early September, we will all mass submit. So I'd like to thank Rama, Rehana, Ruben, and Selena from UWA especially for their support these past months. It's been very back and forth with the Commission, and I'm happy that they've produced this racism at uni survey. Moving on, the past year, the Curtin Student Guild has been working on getting a recycling hub launched, and it is with great excitement that I can now announce it has been launched. The gorgeous recycling hub is now available for use in the library on level 3. I will note that the library is moving things around at the moment, so if you see it in another spot, it's still going to be on level 3 somewhere. Please don't put rubbish in there. The hub will offer students and staff to recycle bottle caps, both plastic and metal, batteries, and it's completely safe. We've got a proper compartment from EcoBat, so it's all fire safe and all that. Beauty products and packaging, empty blister packs, and I think that seems to be really popular at the moment, which is great, and office supplies. I know that this is something students and staff have been wanting for a while, and it's amazing to see it finally launched. So if you do have some of these things at home, bring them into uni, head to the library and drop them off inside the hub. There are 2 weeks that I've been able to enjoy as Vice President, Sustainability and Welfare. The first one is Welfare Week, and last week, Sustainability Week. A big thank you to Tanya, our Commercial Manager, mostly for all her hard work. Putting aside the incredible events with Tanya's support last week and Bridget, we've had many things, including free coffee grounds outside Concept Cafe, which are great for compost and garden use. And with students from the Public Relations major, we've seen incredible content advertising the Bring Your Own Mug discount at our guild outlets that can offer 50 cents off your hot beverages if you bring a mug or a keep cup. I'm very happy for this to be the very last time I mentioned the lolly wall, as I'm frankly getting quite sick of it. But it is now completely complete for students that haven't been able to indulge in the lolly wall due to dietary requirements. So please do check out the new options in the lolly wall that have more halal and vegan options. There's also sugar-free options, which is great. The week before, we had the student strike for Gaza. All that aside, I do recognise that the Curtin Student Guild is, in my opinion, the most anti-genocide, pro-humanity, pro-Palestinian human rights guild in the country by a lot. which I frankly also find quite disappointing. We're a month and a half away from it being 2 years of genocide on Gaza, and there are guilds that have not only not spoken up, but haven't endorsed or organized anything to oppose this. From UWA, I'd like to honestly commend Rama, also NUS Vice President, who, State Vice President, who was always there to support. However, in the middle of a genocide, it is quite shameful that out of all the unions in the country, many still shy away from the biggest catastrophe of our times. Like in the whole state, Curtin was the only one that organized an encampment. It is the role of every person with a bit of humanity in them to stand up and do what's right, and it's the role of unions to lead that fight. I'll echo President Dillon's endorsement as well. I'd like to encourage all students to attend the rally on Sunday as part of the National March for Gaza, which the Guild has endorsed. And if you're on campus next week, do attend the SGM as well. Things that I'm working on as an ongoing thing are the meditation and multi-faith rooms on the north side of campus and in the library. Last year, I noticed students using the staircase in the library to ground themselves or attend to multi-faith related and meditative time. It's not only unsafe, but it's not practical, and students deserve to be comfortable on this campus. So that's an ongoing conversation. And the smart bins, I won't reveal too much about them here, but they are set to be launched on the first week of November, which is amazing, and will make sustainability even more fun than it is now. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding my report.
Thank you, Razan. Has anybody got any questions for Razan? Oh, great. Look at the enthusiasm. I'll go with Bridget first and then for you.
Razan, can you tell us more about your work with the Ethno Collective?
I thought you were going to ask about the lollywall, so I'm happy. You're going to ask about the lollywall? Great. You're going to ask about the lollywall. Everyone wants to talk about the lollywall except me. The Ethno Cultural Collective is really good. It's honestly just been a safe space for students of culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds to be able to have a space. One of the questions I was asked, because I know there are people that are a bit confused about its function, there are international students who have an experience and deserve their own space, and that's why we've got the International Student Committee. But then you've also got students that come from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, but are domestic students. They've grown up here, they've had their own experience as well. And they might not see their needs reflected in everyday services that are, I guess, aimed at domestic Australian students. And because of that, it does create a gap. And so a lot of it has been advocacy. So at the moment, a large part of that is working with the Australian Human Rights Commission. We also had an event today which went amazingly with the Women's Department, but that's for next month's report. But yeah, it's going great. It's very much an advocacy space. It's very much a social space, and it's grown pretty well.
Okay, great. Hadia?
Unfortunately, Razan, I do have a question about the lollywall. I did notice, actually I have two questions. First question is, I did notice that the pizza shapes were like sold out, which I'm a bit sad about, and I was wondering if you knew what was happening there. It's actually been quite a while, and every time I go back, it's a bit disappointing, but that's okay because there are other lollies. And my other question is on the multi-faith, and I just had a question on what are some of the setbacks you're facing, and is that due to the uni or like the space, or about that?
So the pizza is my favorite lolly in that wall. So I'm very upset about that as well. So when we requested halal lollies, there didn't seem to be any local suppliers. So our supplier is over east, I think in Melbourne. So it does take a while for them to restock. But I'll definitely keep note. It is the first time that something has gone out of stock in the lolly wall since bringing on the new stock. So I think they still hadn't been able to have a chance to see what the demand would be like. But definitely should be back in stock very soon. Otherwise, I'll follow it up with our commercial manager. The second question was about multi-faith. So there has been there's been a lot of issues I've noticed the university having with getting someone employed, which is very difficult because they cater to the needs of a lot of students, not only in services, but also in extensions and things like that. So there has been recently a new multi-faith officer employed. This is her third week. I went to establish a rapport in that first week. And that's where I laid out everything. There were also concerns with regards to the opening hours for the multi-faith and meditation rooms. It seems that she's hit a roadblock, and so this is when I come in and I take over. So I'm continuing that. But yeah, Otherwise, the previous multi-faith officer has gone on maternity leave, and there was a few months when there was no one in that position.
Okay, great. Yeah, Bridget, you have something else to add?
Sorry, I've seen a rise in calls and people on campus trying to approach people, with me having a number of people trying to coming up to me trying to get me to join their church. What is the Guild or Curtin doing about this?
Look, Safer Communities, the problem with these cults is because there's a new one.
She never said cult.
No, you did. Yeah, she did. She did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
The problem with this, the problem,
church.
no, look, the problem with these cults is because you've got they run under very different names, and sometimes it's the same individuals, and a lot of them there's new ones every day. It's really hard to keep up. So, at the moment, personally, what I'm doing every time I see a poster or I'm keeping an eye on forums, on the internet. Anytime something seems a bit strange, I'll inform Safer Communities. Safer Communities have definitely been informed that there are cults on campus and there are students approaching other students on campus and individuals approaching students on campus. But it's definitely a good point for, I almost had a run-in. It's a very good point for me to bring up with Safer Communities. However, the last time I talked to them about it was actually yesterday. So yeah, they seem pretty informed. But I definitely will follow it up. Thank you for asking, Bridget.
Okay, cool. Does anyone else have any more questions to add? No? Cool. Well, we shall move on to the Secretary's report. Nor, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose.
Lovely.
So I'll say planning for the 2026 budget is underway with Karen, who's one of the, she's the portfolio manager of the finance team. I'm meeting with her Monday to finalize sort of what we've done with the budget this year and how it can look for next year. So reps with the budget, if you guys, didn't like your budget this year, if there was things that you thought needed more funding, or really anything you want to see, keen for that feedback because it'll help us finalize it for next year. I finished drafting the changes for the 3 different regs and the bylaws for the ethnoculture officers. So the legal committee has been sent it, but they need to approve the amending regulations. So until they do that, it won't get passed, which will hopefully be next meeting. Other than that, working with Bridget, like she mentioned, on the sustainability grant and award, this will have to be in line with our club's policy. So it's just a bit of a challenge to make it fit within that policy. And if it's something that we can't put in the policy, we need to consider changing that policy, which is a whole other thing. So we're just trying to suss out those details, and we have Luke from Club Sport helping us with that as well. Yeah, nothing beyond regular budgets, payments, things like that. The PSC acting president will be starting tomorrow, and the guild councillor to fill Ryan Kirby's missing spot has been contacted and hopefully would be joining us at the next guild council. Yeah, that's all. Any questions, happy to answer.
Yes, Ryan Kirby, you would be deeply missed. F's in the chat. Does anybody have any comments on Nor's report? No? Okay. We'll move on to the Managing Director's report. Vernon, your report was submitted. Would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Chair. Look, I'm happy to take the report as read. Only to say and add to it by saying there's a lot of activity going on in the administration of the Guild, and there's both operationally and strategically. So I'd like to thank the portfolio managers and their teams for their hard work. It's been quite a busy month and start to semester. So again, thank you to them, and thank you to them for supporting the preparation and delivery of this report. As you'll see, they've submitted the highlights of their relevant portfolios activities. There's a lot going on in the property space. I'm pleased to advise, I think this is the first meeting where I can advise the student kitchen's open. So thanks to A. Hoskins for their speedy delivery of that, the special mention, which has allowed us to move on to, with a different contractor, the retreat storage project. and which will dovetail into extra storage and GMART, which will present a lot better and functionally provide better support for the team there that struggle with the amount of goods that move in and out of GMART. Communications from Curtin is that stage 2 of the student club's hub phase is nearing completion, and so in due course a deed variation will come before this council for approval for us to sign. Lots, as I mentioned, going on in that strategic space. So there's a real vision for responding to the expansive needs of running the guild, and the vision with respect to the council strategic plan, but also management strategic plan, and how we deliver that, the resources required to deliver that to a high standard. So supported by David Price and Elevate Consulting, we've done a lot of the legwork which has come before this council, and now we look to approaching the deployment of that. So thanks to all those involved with that, because it will, I'm confident, result in really positive outcomes for the students on this campus and the support for this Guild Council and the elected student members. Other than that, I'm happy to take the paper as read and welcome any questions.
That sounds good. Is there any questions for Vernon? Yeah, Aberdeen?
I think it's, I had a look at the, is it financial dashboard or something? It looks like it's in a really good position. I'm not great with numbers, but with that said, with the Guild in such a strong financial position, what opportunities do you see for reinvesting in student services and new initiatives in future?
Sure, I still think we're on a journey. The numbers are looking positive, and against what was forecasted, and we'll speak to that when the financial reports are presented, which are separate from this report. Now, but I guess that is, once we establish what are long-term positive outcomes, so there'll be a reinvestment required to deliver the strategic outcomes, which will have further positive impacts in that commercial sector and the operational sector. So first of all, we need to reinvest in our future strategic plan, but that will result in ongoing uplifted financial results, which this council and future councils will have at their disposal to decide how best to service the Curtin student community with, I guess, generally is how I'll view that. We're here to, and my team's here to set a platform and some process around ensuring long-term financial viability for the commercial sector for this council and its elected members to decide how best to distribute that.
Yeah, Adia? Yeah.
I just had a question regarding the clubs and society part, like .2, about preparing the incoming clubs have account banking requirements. I was wondering if you could expand on that and how that's going to affect clubs.
I'm going to have to take that one on notice if you don't mind, but I believe it's really about making an efficient portal for clubs to be able to access and utilise that space. So the aim is to maximise the use of this space. It's really, in my view, it's been really well designed and appointed, and we want clubs to feel like they've got a resource they're proud to use, and that it's easy and there's a fair, open, transparent way for all clubs to have access to it. But I will take that question on notice and come back to you. That's all right. No problem.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll go Dylan. Yeah. Something I think worthwhile calling out in the report is the student assist performance. July, 483 sessions with student assist officers. It's a big achievement from the student assist officers, so it's something that's really worthwhile calling out. 9 students through the hardship grants program, 9 laptops through the laptop loan program, 118 students in subsidised first aid and CPR training, and also mental health first aid sessions as well, with 7 participants attending. That's the first time that's happened.
So yeah, just really worth calling out again. Obviously, there's generally an increase in July because it's when things like termination status and things like that come through, and people are coming back through. But it's a busy time, and it's a relatively small team overall with that number of cases call out, and they do incredible work and very valued by the university community. On top of all the other assisting reps in background and all of that kind of stuff with knowledge, it's a really incredible team. So yeah, just worthwhile calling that out, particularly given near on 500 sessions in 1 month.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dylan. And yeah, they're a hard-working team like all the portfolio teams, but worth to mention. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Ben.
I've got two things. One to comment on the club banking thing. So one of the reasons why that is to ensure that the clubs are a sub-entity of the guild and are tax exempt. That's one of the main reasons. As esports was bringing it in as a test, which we've had issues with, but that's more related to CommBank. But I have one more question. It's related to social media communications on O-Day. There was only 9 stories posted when historically there's upwards of 30, highlighting clubs, societies that people are asking for. In the future, would this be possible to bring back? Because I think some students really want to see where some clubs are located, and it's just once again highlights what the point of the day is.
Yeah, absolutely. Always looking to take learnings from every event, and if there's some specific suggestions on how you'd like to see that expanded, please feel free to send those through, and we'll ensure they're communicated onto the team. Yep.
Okay, cool. Has anyone else got any more comments? No. Okay, cool. Now. We have a motion here that the Guild Council approves the reports moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Ben. All those in favour? Great, the motion's carried. Okay, so now we'll move to item 6.1, the safety report, which was submitted. Any comments or questions for Vernon on the safety report? Yeah.
Not really for Vernon, just to wrap up. All the safety inspections were done on time for June and July. I think it was the new inspection was level 2.5, was just out of service, something like that. Similar and some ongoing things with a knee sprain. Is this employee okay?
My understanding is they're okay. Yeah.
Been there, that's all.
Okay. Always good to know that everyone's okay. Anyone else got any more comments or questions for Vernon safety report? No, great. Okay, so we've got a motion that the Guild Council notes the safety report moved by Nor. Can I get a seconder? Thank you, Ebony. And just to note, Bridget left the meeting at 6:02 p.m, returned at 6:08 p.m. All those in favour of the safety report? Great, that's carried. Okay, item 6.2, the finance report, which is separate from Vernon's Managing Director's report for the first time this meeting. Vernon, the finance report was submitted. Would you like to speak about it?
No, other than to reiterate the earlier comments, I'm really pleased with how we're tracking, particularly in that commercial section. We don't claim that we've resolved all of the challenges of the complication, and we're not sure that this is a permanent improvement, but we are really pleased with the initiatives and the efforts, the results that seem to be coming out. I've presented the reports, as you mentioned, as a separate report as requested by this council, and also included a dashboard which is really aimed to just give key information to those that just wish to read the highlights. I thank Karen because she does spend quite a bit of time and effort into providing that additional commentary, which for those that are interested in understanding what is driving or what sits behind the numbers featured in the dashboard, that's still there. It's a work in progress, and so we welcome any further requests or items that that this council would like to see presented in this report. Even feedback if the commentary is too detailed, I'm happy to take that on board because that will improve the efficiency of the preparation. But no, both June and July, really pleased with how we are tracking as a guild this year, and happy to take any questions.
Great. Note that Callum has entered the meeting re-entered the meeting at 6:10 p.m. Has anyone got any questions for Vernon on the finance report? I've got a question for you, Vernon. I just noticed under the expenses part of the dashboard, it says that other expenses decreased by 16%. And I looked at the explanation as to why, and it seemed like most of that wasn't necessarily related to improvements that might have been done. And I'm just curious as to whether or not you see any reflections in this dashboard that are reflective of changes that you might have made or improvements to the commercial's position, if you're able to highlight that.
Yes, thanks for the question. I think really it's about the initiatives that we put in place were at the start of the year in terms of reviewing the executives reviewing of our pricing is impacting that. Our management and focus on wages and how we're rostering is clearly highlighted in that commercial sector, in the commercial results and the expenses. And I think really also reflected in the sales is the focus and the attention we placed in promoting, and that's both awareness and product. And to this council's credit, Guinness in the tap is selling well, so it needs recognising.
And that is a great thing to note. Great old good Guinness pint. That is brilliant. And yeah, great to hear that has improved the financial position of the guild. Very worthwhile motion into the guild. Not biased at all. Okay, so we have a motion here that Guild Council notes the finance report. Moved by Noor. Can I get a second up? Thank you, Callum. All those in favour? That motion is carried. Now we will move to item 6.3, proposed amendment to the Curtin Student Guild organisational structure.
I'd like to move that we have this discussion in camera.
I'd like to second.
Right, cool. We have a motion and we have a seconder. Would either of you two like to speak on the motion? No? Anyone else like to speak on the motion? No, we shall go to a vote. All those in favour of moving in camera? Great, that item is carried. We shall move in camera for the discussion of this item.
Max, are we off the screen? No longer screen like that.
Let me do it. She looks so cute.
again? Great, we are live on the YouTube. Okay, great. I don't have the chat up here, but I'm assuming that the chat is going crazy. Okay, we don't have chat enabled. Okay, we'll have to work on that next time. We now have a motion here. Oh, yep. Okay. Secretary has left the room, so we'll just pause just for a moment. Oh, to get the people back through, to get the observers back in the room. That's what she's doing. Okay, yeah, that's important. So we're still technically in the process of moving out of the camera. Yep. So we're currently inside, just building the tunnel to get out. Oh yes, I've got that. Yes, this is the movie shots. No, that's not what I had to know. That was appreciated. Okay, so we are back out of camera, and we have a motion here that the Guild Council approves a change to the organisational structure of the Guild to establish an additional layer of management between the Managing Director and Portfolio Managers to be known as General Managers. B, the amendment of any associated contracts, position descriptions and reporting lines associated with this change. And C, notes that final costings for the new structure will be provided to the Executive for decision under Delegation 6.14/0 before implementation. It's moved by Dylan Storer and seconded by Noor. Any further comments on the motion? No. We'll move to a vote. All those in favour? That motion is carried. We now move to item 6.4, Guild Strategic Plan 2026 to 2029. And we have a motion that the Guild Council discusses and approves the Curtin Student Guild Strategic Plan 2026 to 2029, moved by Dylan. Dylan, would you like to speak to the motion as the mover?
Yeah, this came to the last Guild Council for discussion. We've made a few small changes to it. I know that the chair will be particularly happy under Pillar A that there is a, where is it now? Down here in the Strategic Performance Measures Framework. There is a new objective, which is to adopt a Curtin Student Guild food charter that promotes healthy, sustainable, culturally inclusive and affordable food and drink options across all Guild operated venues, which will be nice. And we have also made a few other small changes off the back of the promotion we put in here. We changed, I think I can't even remember what the word is. We had a bit of discussion last time around the relationship that we have with the university. So under Pillar D, the objective has changed to ensure constructive engagement with university leadership without compromising our independence and responsibility to members. And we've also included in here as well around that sort of self-determination point as well that we discussed. That's under Pillar A, which is deliver welfare, advocacy, support services that directly respond to lived students' needs and uphold self-determination for all students. So yeah, those are kind of the changes since we had the discussion at the last Guild Council. I think this is alongside the discussion and the motion that we've just passed, really a great opportunity to set the Guild up going into the future. This is going to be the strategic plan through until the end of 2029. And this is really something that I'm very proud about the work that's gone into it. Very proud about this document. And I think it really reflects very well on the Guild that we're in a position to develop a strategic plan that is ambitious, that is achievable, and that represents the very best of what a student union should be.
Thank you, Dylan. I would also like to commend you on adding the Curtin Student Guild Food Charter into that Pillar A. That is hands down one of the best decisions I think has been made. Brilliant. Just underneath the Guinness the tab, of course. Now, this to be up for discussion. Does anybody have any points like to discuss? Oh, sorry, actually, I should go. Nor, you've seconded the motion. I'd like to speak to it.
Dylan covered most of it. I would just like to say that I think that it's a very, very strong strategic plan. And like we've just discussed, we're in quite a good position at the Guild. And I think we're quite lucky that we've fallen in a year where we've been able to be the ones to facilitate the new strategic plan. So I think it's looking very strong and I'm happy to have this implemented and see where we can take it.
Great. Okay, now it's opening it up for discussion. Does anybody have any points or any discussion that they'd like to speak to?
Yes. For a uni-ready rep on the Curtin Student Guild Representation Board, it's a thank you.
Okay. Just to the councillors, has anybody got any comments or discussion on specifically the Guild Strategic Plan document 2026 to 2029? Yep, Hamida, go for it.
I just had a question about the vision. I mean, like, I think the rest looks fine, but just the wording about like it says to be the leading and most trusted independent student organisation in Australia that is highly valued by our students, the broader sector and community. I just wanted to know if that's like meaning the management, because I just feel like being valued by the students and the management is kind of just because they have counter-posed interests is kind of a difficult position to constantly be in. Just in terms of the wording, I just wanted to know like what the broader sector meant.
So just to confirm, you're saying that the management and the students have different interests always? Is that what you're asking? Okay, yeah. Dylan, would you like to answer that one? Oh, sorry, Amita. Were you saying something or not?
Oh yeah, I was just saying that I do think they
that's all good.
Have counterposed interests.
Okay, good, no worries. Yeah, Dylan, you can take that.
Yeah, I think our sector is student unions. So I would say we want to be valued by our counterparts across the country, and we want to be constructive and work together in that form. I don't think that we're not a university, we're a student union. So I'd say our sector is different to that of the university, despite being linked. It's a different sort of area that we operate within.
Okay, thank you, Dylan. Yeah, Emily, I can see your hand is raised. Go for it.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood what you're saying, but I don't think it's just that we're like some kind of different sector and we're like not the university. It's that the university management are our enemies and want to kind of trample on students' rights, want to like screw over staff and not give them the pay rises they ask for, and want to make education as cheap and crap as possible. So I don't think it's that we're not the university, it's the university management's interests are counterposed to ours, and having a constructive relationship with them shouldn't be, I don't think, the aim of the student union. I think it should be to win rights for students, for staff, and for different kind of oppressed groups.
You happy to take that one, Dylan? Yep. Pass over to you.
Yeah. Look, I think we're getting into the world of wordsmithing. I agree that the job of a student union is to get wins for students, and that's what we do. I would say a constructive relationship is getting those wins for students, not in terms of us bowing down or backing down. That's certainly not something that we're doing or would ever have the intent of doing. So I think we agree, but I think ultimately, regardless of which way we word this, our intent, I think you'll read into that in a different way, and that's fine. But yeah, it's certainly not our intent, and that's not the way that this guild has operated sort of ever or will operate. So yeah, no, we certainly, I agree with the goal there. But I think that's part of a constructive relation. It's actually constructive in terms of getting wins for students, and we're willing to do all things required in order to achieve that. Okay, thank you, Dylan. Has anybody else got any other points they'd like to bring up for the discussion or talk about in relation to the Guild Strategic Plan document? I am hearing crickets, so I'll assume that we are all good. Okay, cool. So we'll now move to a vote. All those in favour of that we have discussed and that we will approve the Guild Strategic Plan 2026 to 2029. All those in favour? That motion is carried. Okay, we will now move to item 6.5, amending regulation and bylaw update. We have a motion that the Guild Council notes the draft amendments to the Student Guild Council Regulations 2018 and Student Guild Bylaws 2022 have been prepared pursuant to the resolution of 24th July 2025. Notes that the draft amendments excluding the formal amending regulations have been
Yeah.
Do you have a screen? I can't see anything.
Yeah, me neither.
Hello? Can you guys hear us online? Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
We'll come back at 6:51.
This won't silence. And I will now resume where I left off, which was reading out item 6.5. I'll just restart. I don't know when it cut off. So we're now on to item 6.5, amending regulation and bylaw update. We have a motion that the Guild Council notes that draft amendments to the Student Guild Council Regulations 2018 and Student Guild Bylaws 2022 have been prepared pursuant to the resolution of 24 July 2025. Notes that the draft amendments, excluding the formal amending regulations, have been circulated to the Legal Committee for review. Notes that Guild Council will be asked to consider the proposed amendments once the Legal Committee has reported back with its approval. This is moved by Nor. Would you like to speak to the motion as the mover?
Hello. Okay. Yes, the draft amendments, so all the changes that were going to be made to all of the existing regulations, so the election and referenda regulations, the Guild Council regulations, and the transitional provisions, as well as the bylaws, are done and they've been sent to legal, but I'm still writing the amending regulations, which is the one that legal needs to approve and the one that will eventually go to Uni Council. So until we have a meeting with them, it won't come to Guild Council. So hopefully we'll see that at the next Guild Council. But in the meantime, I've sent everybody the changes just so that you can see where we're up to. If anyone has any feedback in the wording or anything like that, happy to take feedback and things like that. So yeah, I know it was a lot of pages.
You know what, Dylan? You are the seconder to that motion. Would you like to speak to it as the seconder?
Only to note that changing regulations and bylaws is a lot of work. So it's probably worthwhile us looking whether or not the timeline in the in the regulations are required. I think every time we've done this, we've ended up taking longer. So that's been looked at.
Yes, that will need to change in the Guild Council administration regulations. We'll likely look to changing it to you move the motion at Guild Council and instead of the immediate next Guild Council, you'll get two, because when it's just the next Guild Council, because the cutoff date to submit documents is a week before, you really only have 3 weeks to make all the regulation changes, meet with legal, and you could go back and forth with the committees and with your changes. So it's just not enough time in that window. So yeah, likely see that change coming soon.
Okay, cool. Has anybody got any comments or discussion for the riveting topic of adjusting the bylaws? And the regulations. Thank you, Dylan, for pointing that out. Okay, great. We will move to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? That motion is carried. We will now move to item 6.6, WA University Review. This item is for discussion. I'll open the floor for any comments. There's no motion, so I'll just open the floor if anyone would like to comment. Dylan, you can go for it.
Yeah, I'll get us started and sort of just frame the discussion with where we're up to at the moment. The State Minister for Tertiary Education and International Education, Tony Booty, announced a review of WA's university sector, and that is also involving sort of a review of structural changes. The chair of this sort of feasibility study is Alana McTiernan, who's a former WA Labor Minister, and she's also sent a letter sort of after I went in front of the panel. I'm happy to talk about that experience, but sort of mentioned that the name of their group was the University Merger Feasibility Study. So I think the topic of university mergers are well and truly on the cards in this case. The reporting and the conversation seem to indicate that a conversation around merging UWA and Murdoch is being discussed, a possibility of merging UWA, Murdoch and Curtin is being discussed, and the possibility of merging Curtin and UWA is being discussed. I think sort of our main focus in this is making sure that student outcomes are protected in any conversation around merging structural reforms to universities. We're pretty firm that we believe there should be changes to how universities are run and governed and managed across the state and across the country. We think that the sector's facing challenges such as corporatisation, chronic underfunding, insecure, casualised workforces and worsening learning conditions. We think that reform is necessary, but we don't think that merging Curtin or any universities in WA are in the best interests of WA or students studying in WA. They're costly, they're disruptive. Every merger we've looked into has resulted in job cuts, lower student staff ratio, higher student staff ratios rather, increased casualisation and lower rates of student satisfaction and outcomes, and also the erosion of course diversity and campus identity. Curtin is not the same as UWA, it's not the same as Murdoch, and that diversity and sort of culture and across campuses is something that should be protected. In terms of some of the attachments on here, I've got the correspondence that I received from the Minister for Tertiary Education, the correspondence I received from Alana McTiernan, who's the chair of the University Merger Feasibility Study. There's a statement that I put out on behalf of the Guild. There's also the statement that we put out, which is a joint statement of all of the student guild presidents in WA. There's a report in there from the West Australian, and then there's also the original submission that we put in as a guild back when Dylan Botica was president, and that was to the initial review that happened at the time. In terms of what's important to kind of stress is that I think that mergers are on the cards. We're not sure whether or not Curtin is going to be part of that. I'm happy to take more questions in terms of where we're up to at the moment. We got a phone call through our reception from a lady in the Department of Education a few days before, maybe a week or so before I had my meeting with the panel, and effectively left a message. I wasn't available at the time, so I called them back. And they effectively said, how does 11 o'clock sound? Lovely. Rock up at Dumas house. Here's that you may or may not get a formal invitation. Here's a photo of my business card. Give me a call if you need anything. That's the extent of the information that was provided. We've not seen the recommendations that have gone out from the report that they're considering implementing. My understanding is the only people that have seen that report is I think the vice chancellors of the universities, and even then that wasn't a you can distribute this or share it kind of a situation. So effectively going in there pretty blind in terms of the questions being asked. It was a very rigorous conversation. There was a lot of questions being asked, and probably not a lot of listening being done by those present. There was a lot of public servants in the back taking notes on their laptops. So there's 3 members of the feasibility. So you've got the chair, Alana McTiernan. You've also got Lisa Rogers, who's the former Director General of WA's Department of Education. And then there's Bruce Walker, who's an emeritus professor at Murdoch University, an emeritus professor as he's a chiropractor. Yeah, that's sort of the basis of where we're up to. As I say, it was quite a rigorous conversation. I was in there myself. They've met with our Vice Chancellor. They've met with the Chancellor of Curtin, and I believe the equivalents at all the other universities as well. They met with goodness. Thanks, Vernon. They met with the Secretary of the NTEU here in WA. I'm not sure who else they've met with on top of that. So that's about all the information that we have at the moment, other than to say mergers are on the cards. One of the things that I did stress in that conversation was that when we're discussing merging public universities, you're also discussing merging the relevant guilds. WA is very unique in regards to having the guilds as legislated entities within the relevant acts that establish the universities. So that's something that needs to be remembered as well. You didn't do a good enough job there, Vernon. Maybe a merged university might get one council chamber that actually works. So we're not sure. But yeah, anyway, happy to... Oh no, you're just going to lock Vernon out. No. Happy to go in conversation though and have a discussion about this, because it's very worthy us discussing it.
Okay, great. I would also like to note that Emily Lassam left the meeting at 6:59 p.m. That was when I saw it anyway. Thank you, Dylan. Would anyone else like to add to that discussion? Go for it, Hadia, and then we'll go to Max.
I just had a question, Dylan, or if anyone is new.
Yes.
It was when the door is going to stop beeping, but it's actually, do you know whether this restructuring is based off another plan or is supported by a plan that had been previously done somewhere else, like in another state or maybe overseas, and how that went?
I think the big glossy version at the moment is from the University of Adelaide. Well, they're merging the University of Adelaide with the University of South Australia to make Adelaide University, and that will be launched next year. You just got to kind of jiggle it till it. No, it's too funny. The panel referred to University of Adelaide quite extensively, and that conversation that's happening in South Australia. The government started this process back in 2023, and it caused a lot in WA and caused a lot of sort of anxiety around there. The university submitted, we submitted. And we made it clear that sort of mergers generally aren't a great idea. It sort of went on pause for a while after the re-election of Labor at the last state election and the appointment of Tony Budi to continue to be not the Minister for Education, but Minister for Tertiary Education, considering he was the minister that first sort of initiated this discussion whether or not this would happen again. So when I was speaking with my counterparts at the other guilds, that was certainly something that was on the mind of them. And then this was announced sort of going into that. I'd had some initial conversations with the minister in other meetings that I'd had with him around this before this had been announced. And he said, you know, you'd be involved if it ever was to happen, you will be contacted and stuff. I'm like, well, okay, well, this probably might happen then, and it's happening. So yeah, it's Adelaide University has a 4-year moratorium on job cuts from the merger, but as with every other time there's been a merger, jobs will cut at the end of that.
whether or not they're redundancies or if it's through attrition, ultimately, I think it's kind of the same outcome for students, which is lower student staff ratios, lower support services, lower sort of larger class sizes, those kinds of things. This is being driven from the idea that Western Australia needs a university that's ranked in the top 50 in the world. Rankings are deeply flawed. Like bodies, quite frankly, the ranking institutions, like these are private companies that run them, be a little bit corrupt. There are business incentives to get to the top. We don't have a university in the top 50 ranked in the world. And there's this idea that if we merge universities, that automatically all of the rankings are kind of sort of just push us up. That hasn't happened at Adelaide University, the initial ranking that they've put out, but they seem to think that it will happen eventually. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where we're at. I mean, we're really at the moment sort of reading the tea leaves, for lack of a better term, but it's something we need to be aware of and engaged with. Absolutely.
Thank you, Dylan, for continuing despite the door problems. Anyone else got any points? Oh, sorry, Max, you were next. Sorry for the discussion. Yeah, and then I'll go to Coben if you've still got something to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last time this came around, the guild was heavily opposed to it. The Curtin Guild submitted something along every step of the process, and in the end, that was pushed back. It's very disheartening to see that they're trying to merge like unis at WA again. There's already not enough teaching staff at Curtin. If we merge and jobs are cut, there's going to be one teacher staff to like 40 students a class, and then like this is just a high school at that point. Why are we here? On the other topic is, I know Dylan mentioned what the guilds being merged. The other thing is this would weaken WA's representation at the national level with NUS, given delegates are capped kind of per uni. So each delegate would need to represent more students, and WA would totally get a less voice on the floor at whatever national conference comes around.
I can concur on the class sizes. Even my engineering tutorials, they're in a lecture hall. So yeah, it would not be great. Yeah, Coben.
I just wanted to touch on WASM again. I emailed you about that. Was there any conversation about that? Because obviously, you know, it's part of Curtin, but really it is its own campus, its own identity, a uni and a uni. So was there any conversation about WASM?
Yeah, I did raise it, and I think it needs to be taken quite seriously because if we have a big university, the idea of having sort of these regional campuses is something that could be under threat, I'd imagine, when we're getting down to breaking those sort of bottom lines, and global campuses as well on that front. I think the door might be fixed. Who knows? Murdoch has campuses in regional locations, or sort of in the sort of southern suburbs. ECU has the Bunbury campus. UWA has Albany. We've got Kalgoorlie. So yeah, no, I did mention that. There was some kind of an idea that somehow having a merged university would be better for regional students, but they weren't really able to sort of flesh that out too much. But it does need to be at the front of our mind. Sort of the state that WASM is in. I know that it's you know, one of, if not the, depending on the year, sort of highest ranked school in the world for mining and minerals. That's something that's important to WA. It's something that's quite important to the students that go there and the community of Kalgoorlie, and it needs to be represented. And I saw that firsthand when I went out to the WASM campus out in Kalgoorlie, and I plan on going out there again and discussing this with people. But it needs to be safeguarded. It's a pretty incredible campus out there, and they're looking at offering more things as well. So I think it's going to be a great benefit to the Kalgoorlie community for that to continue. But yeah, it needs to be at the front of mind because we're talking about having, and this is in some of the conversations around it, having, I'll be one university with 3 campuses. There's more than 3 campuses there. There's actually a lot of campuses when you put all these universities together as well.
Doesn't sound like a lot of the logistics have been worked out. They're just sort of big overall thinking. Yeah, Noor, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. There's not really anything we can reference when we're thinking about how this will affect students now, their degrees, whether or not your degree will say the university you're currently enrolled in now, the timeline on it. As Max said, Curtin's a bit unique in that we have 5 global campuses. There's also no reference to how that would affect Malaysia, Singapore, Dubai, Mauritius, and Sri Lanka, as well as just on the guild point of view of that, even School of Mines down in Kalgoorlie, they kind of operate pretty autonomously to us. We still, we support them financially, and we've got, all the resources there with them, but they do their own thing. And yeah, just even UWA, ECU, Murdoch, they operate their guilds completely different, like their organizational management structure. So it's just very uncertain. And we'll need to keep on top of whatever we can get until we get a solid piece of information.
Hamida, I did see your hand was raised before. Have you put that down? You don't want to speak, or have just timed out?
Oh, I just felt like everything else.
Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry, I need to change
Yeah,
mine.
I think.
There we go. I think that was my end. Go for it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go for it.
I just felt like everything I was kind of just mentioned by Dylan, so it just felt like I was going to repeat a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I generally kind of agree that it'll be at the expense of and like, a lot of staff cuts, and that's kind of the the gist of it. It's just the guild like with information, and if there isn't like if it's actually gonna happen and stuff when we find out, I think like the guild should be ready.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Ebony, go for it.
I did prepare something to say for this. So enjoy. Many of us in this room, probably apart from Vernon, are studying right now, and I'm sure you remember what it was like sitting down to decide which university to attend. For most of us, that decision wasn't made lightly. We just considered many things, including the cost of the degree, which I think something hasn't really been brought up. The cost of a degree at UWA currently is very expensive compared to the cost of a degree at Curtin or Murdoch. So that's another thing we have to consider. The location and how accessible it was, the quality of the teaching, the campus life, the cost of living nearby, especially for those from regional or remote areas. And yeah, sure, you might have even considered the university rankings, but I know it wasn't at the top of my list. When I was making that choice, I had an offer to study law at both Curtin and UWA. I ultimately chose Curtin, not because UWA was bad, but because Curtin's degree could be completed within 3 years, not that that's happening anymore, and offered a more hands-on and practical approach. At Curtin, I could work with real clients and under professional supervision, something that suited my learning style far more than UWA's, but more theoretical and Oxford-style model. That's why this possibility of a merger deeply concerns myself and many other students in my position. Students choose universities based on their unique strengths. Merging them for the sake of boosting international rankings risks erasing that individuality and depriving future students of the right to choose that educational style that works best for them. And if personal stories don't really convince you, I know this has been covered, but every single university merger in Australia in the past has led to job losses, student unions, the democratic voice of students are always weakened. Larger universities consistently have lower student satisfaction. I agree that university sector needs reform, but there are far better ways to improve our universities that benefit both staff and students. And the casualisation of teaching staff by capping the excessive executive salaries, ensuring academics are paid properly so they can give students real, meaningful feedback, not just a rushed 15 minutes allocation to mark a 2,000-word assignment. And let's be honest, this proposal is not about improving the student outcomes, it's about university rankings. We must stand with students and academic staff for this, and I'm eager to hear what the other members of this council think about the prospect of merger. Thank you.
Thank you, Ebony. That was very well thought out and very detailed. That was great. Has anyone else got any comments to talk about? Yeah, Ben, go for it.
Just to briefly also touch on what Ebony said about student satisfaction. There is a direct correlation. There's no hiding it. Adding another 30,000 students to Curtin University will drop us probably below the 70s, which is where we're sitting at the moment. Yeah, it's just not necessary for if you want this university to have students who are enjoying their time here as well.
Yep, Nor?
Sorry. I was just going to add, to what Ebony was saying, even the idea of having more students merging all these unis to push us up in ranking, I don't personally see how that would work given, the time it would take to even integrate the new model. I feel like would be such a lack of efficiency in teaching and students' experience. I think it would just bring us down, if anything, before we even saw any kind of positive effect of merging the universities. So I just think it's right now looking quite messy, but obviously TBD.
Thank you, Nor. Has anybody else got any comments, further points of discussion about the university's review? No? Okay, well, we don't have motion for this, so I'm just going to move on to the next item, which is 7 minutes of committees reporting to Guild Council. So we've got 5 sets of minutes here, 7.1 representation board on the 17th of July 2025, Executive Committee on the 11th of August and the 18th of August 2025, Finance and Risk Committee on the 16th of July 2025, and there were no Operations or Legal Committee minutes here. And we have a motion that the Guild Council approves the minutes of the committees reporting to the Guild Council. It's moved by Nor, seconded by Dylan. Nor, would you like to speak to the motion? No, Dylan, would you like to speak to it? No, would anyone else like to speak to the motion? No, let's go to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. We'll now go on to general business. Item 8.1, ideas and suggestions. We've got item 8.1.1, Tavern AV equipment. Max, I believe you'll have a comment to make, and also Ben.
Yeah, so the Tavern, mostly audio. The visual equipment's like mostly fine. The audio equipment, both in the outside beer garden and in the inside bistro area, has been degrading quality for quite a while now, but it's reached a point where it is no longer suitable for the tavern to be used as a event hosting venue. It's something that, given the importance of the tavern as such a hub for students, that we should probably look into replacing / upgrading.
Ben, would you like to speak on it? Yeah, go for it.
I'd like to also add, having run, I believe, this has probably been my 7th quiz night I've run at the TAV. Over time, it has been getting worse in terms of the delay between getting things set up on the system and starting the quiz. Usually we put a 10-15 minute buffer. We started our quiz, which was meant to start at 6:15, including the delays, started at 6:43 p.m. Which means not only do we have to rush through certain rounds just to make sure that we finish on time so that the staff aren't, working overtime as well. It also, not on them, there is a lack of training as well on the staff to how to use the equipment, how to set things up, what channels to put the audio on, these kinds of things. I will say though that the 2 people working did fantastic with what they had, and we got it working eventually. But in future, I think not just my club as well, any other club that wants to run functions there, that it is necessary to upgrade this equipment. I think that's pretty much it I have to say for it.
Thank you, Ben. Vernon?
No, thanks for your feedback. I wasn't aware of this, and I think I started contemplating this game, and as we may at this council understand or know that there's major capital projects for the tavern and the GC Central, but this is a more immediate. This requires a more immediate response than that without over investing in it. So I think there's some key points in terms of the quality and of the equipment, the training and staff. What I'd like to do is take this offline with you, Ben, if you don't mind, learn some more. I'd actually even like to attend one of the quiz nights to understand the process with you, and then give that feedback through to my IT team and to the tavern team. But I will talk to the fact that this is one of the key deliverables of in the org structure and the commercial, that tavern manager. I think we've been missing that real focus at a management level and that responsibility, because I agree with you, the team are doing a great job, but they're largely casuals. They're largely people that spend 1 or 2 days there. And so it's unfair to assign that level of responsibility. So, but I'll work directly with you on that if you're happy to do that.
There we go. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, Vernon. Would anyone else like to add any comments to 8.1.1 Tavern AV equipment? Yes, Dylan, go for it.
Can we put Vernon attending a quiz night on the actions register, Chair?
Happy for that to be recorded.
Oh, great. Yeah.
And I would like to participate if the opportunity arises.
We've got one coming up September 5th.
All right, lock me in.
Yeah, I do expect those results to be relayed back to council as well, please. Thank you. Let's see how voting goes. Okay, so now we will move on, if everyone's okay with that.
Yes, I would like to make further comments.
Yep, I'll just send you, I'll just look over to you when it's your turn. It's almost.
Okay.
No worries, don't worry, it's almost. 8.2, other business, just for the councillors and everyone who is elected here. Does they have any other business to discuss first?
Yeah, I've just got a point.
Yeah, go for it, Cope.
Earlier, it was mentioned that there were cults on campus who were trying to get people to join their church. What evidence is it that they're cults and not just Christians trying to get people to join?
Okay, I believe Bridget, you made that comment. Would you like to speak to it?
Okay, so one Christian group of like-minded people approached me. I can't remember the name of them, but it's this one group specifically who are really, really interested in the Book of Revelations. You don't know at first, which is probably the whole point, and then while looking into it later, it becomes a known cult. You just have to look into it.
But I'm confused. So who is the group? And then are they just referencing the Book of Revelations, or are they referencing it in order to, or in the conversation of Christianity to get people to join their church? Because otherwise what I'm interpreting it as is just attacking Christians with no evidence that it is a cult.
And I'll just let Bridget reply. Yeah.
Coben, I'm a Catholic.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Like,
saying anything against you or something. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it can come across as, if there's no evidence for it and it's Catholics trying to get people to join their church and you're just referring to them as an extremist group such as a cult without there being evidence for it, can come across that way.
And could I just confirm that it was not Curtin Christian Union, the club that's listed on the Guild website?
Oh no, it's definitely not Curtin Christian Union. Yes.
Okay, great. Anyone else like to have any comments? Yeah, I'll go Max and then Callum.
So it's quite well known to a lot of people, specifically if you're from a East Asian background, that the Korean called Shincheonji does operate on campus, and they do actively try to recruit from the student body. I know because they tried on me in my first year, and then again in my second year, and then again in my third year. So they really don't get the hint. Outside of that, the Chinese group Falun Gong, it has seemed to have started at Curtin as well. These are groups that have been labelled by all major churches as cults, and I feel comfortable defining them this way as well, given their nature. If it's just groups trying to recruit people to join their churches or whatever, they have other means to do that. If there's specific groups that are of a common faith and they wish to gather together on campus, they have clubs, they can do that through clubs. Preventing cults on campus is a student safety issue, and this is something that I've contacted Safer Communities before regarding, and I believe this is what students should be concerned about this if they are still active on campus.
Yeah, go to Callum.
Yeah, Max said a lot of what I was going to say. There's a good Western Independent article about them from our great university journalism team. But yeah, it's not so much that it's Christian or Catholic bashing, it's that this has been identified by authorities as a cult.
Yeah.
It's not that Oh, they're
No,
just
I'm,
hanging
I'm,
around.
I was more seeking if it was actually a known group that
Yes,
it was. Or
I
if
do
it was
believe the
just
police have been
it's
notified, but
Christians and
there's
it's
not too much they can actually do about it.
I was just seeking the intent behind the statement.
Okay, cool. So we all good? Yep, all happy? Yep. Okay, great. Now, Julie, I believe you have something you'd like to say,
Yes,
observer.
for a uni ready rep on the Curtin Student Guild Representation Board. It's about fairness. It's about uni ready students being part of this university community. It's about uni ready students having our own issues, which crop up from time to time. For example, the dismissal of this issue at the most recent Student Guild Council meeting. It's about uni-ready students deserving representation via election, and that's in free and fair elections somewhere within the student guild. Now, at the moment, due to a failure of leadership in this guild, or for some other reason, it appears from the guild website that the First Nations rep or the Indigenous rep is a vacant position. Likewise, the first year rep or reps appears to be a vacant position or some number of vacant positions. Anyway, here's a list of facility rep positions: the humanities rep, the rep from business and law, the science and engineering rep, and the rep from health. And here's a list of equal rep positions, equality. First, what I would prefer to call the gender rep, or the rep from how are you going to have your own biological children, or
Julie, if we could just, that part can be a little offensive to some groups of people. Is it okay if we move on to a different section? Is that okay? Just so that we can make sure that everything's fair and it's going to be able to be received by everyone. Is that okay?
So I just you read the rest of this, do I?
Yeah. Would you like me to point to a part that you'd like to go to, or I think just skip that sentence if you'd like to just go.
Okay, so also the woman's rep and the accessibility rep. So what are you going to do about adding or having added or getting it done? A uni ready rep somewhere in the student guild, for example, through the guild president as a rep on the university council, so that the history books show that this elected guild, which will soon face re-election, got it done. Got a uni ready rep somewhere within the student guild.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate your comments. They're always well received as a student on the Curtin Student Guild Council. We always appreciate those comments from students. Would anybody like to, Dylan, if you'd like to, you're welcome to speak to that.
Yeah, so I've never understood why Uni Ready can't run for positions. I would need to seek further information on that. My understanding is Uni Ready students can vote but not run in the election. I think the bulk of Uni Ready students generally are only Uni Ready students for maybe 6 months, so that might be part of the thinking there. But I'm not sure. I need to do more digging on that front. On the whether I'm not a member of the university council by virtue of being the guild president. That's elected in a separate position. I wish it was that case. It's the way it is at UWA, and it would be appropriate for that to be the case here. That's not the process here at Curtin. But yeah, other than that, I'm not sure what else. I think we're doing a lot of work on the regulations and such at the moment. So I might talk with Nora's secretary around if there's something we can do about that. Given the timing of this election process, though, that wouldn't be in place for this year's guild elections. There wouldn't be a way we could proceed with that yet, but I think it's something always worthwhile looking at. I know we're very interested in how we can increase and expand representation at the guild and make sure that we're reflective of the entire student body. Another sort of group of students that aren't guild members because they sort of sit separate to the universities, Curtin College. That's something worthwhile discussing. I know that was brought up earlier this year at a representation board by the former International Student Committee president around representation of uni-ready students as well in the guild. They're not technically Curtin students because they run sort of in a separate body, but they're on campus, they utilise services. So I think there's a part of a broader conversation about how we can bring together some of the different student groups on campus, noting that the bulk of students on campus are members of the guild. Uni-ready students are members of the guild, but they just can't run for election. So that's possibly something we can look into.
Is that okay, Julie? Is that all good? Worries. Thank you. Okay, if there's are there any other items for other business? I take that as a no. Okay, cool. We will now move to item 9, the meeting evaluation. Hadia, you've done the meeting evaluation.
Yes, I have. I would just like to say I feel like that was a really good meeting with a lot of healthy discussion. Thank you everyone for like your reports and your contribution. I will say that I believe all discussion was in mind of like the benefit of students in each report, showing like the smaller wins like with the lolly wall and like the bigger wins like the psych exam. Some improvements I will mention is maybe the bit of tardiness to do with like some committee members joining online and in person, but that's kind of me nitpicking. Overall, I would say it's a pretty productive meeting, focused on improving student life now and into the future. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It's always great when we have as many members here as possible. Now, I attend next meeting. The next ordinary meeting of the Guild Council will be at 5:30 p.m. on the 25th of September 2025 to be held in the University Council Chambers. Meeting closed at 7:31 p.m. Cool.